Fellas, we are up in a shop in Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey, and this right here is a twin-turbo, all-wheel drive, V8 Nissan Frontier. So that is a Nissan Armada independent suspension on this Nissan Frontier. If you look at that transfer case adapter, and if it looks familiar to you, it's the same one that we have on our S10. Steven designed this adapter at the tail housing of the T56 or the TR6060 in order to adapt the GM V8. That thing is so wide. It's got 325s all the way around. Really digging that intake manifold with that intercooler right there. Super short distance, makes low volume, and it's also going to have really good response. You can also check out LOJ at LOJ Conversions. They have a website. Here's a pre-beard Steven, which to me is just weird now. Steven can really nerd out, and he's got some pretty amazing little tools in order to be able to make what he does, like this 3D scanner. The final product of this truck turned out amazing, and believe me, it rips. Right now, we're going to concentrate on the 370Z that he's giving us and how seamless this swap goes in using his parts. Guys, before we dive into the video, I want to remind you that we got our flag shirts restocked and they are ready to ship. Also, we got our Rodney poster here and this thing is flying out the door. So thank all of you guys that have ordered that. That will be shipping out later on this week. You guys are absolutely awesome, so thank you for what you're doing. It keeps us pumping out stuff like this. So I wanted to take you guys up north and check out this shop that I've had a relationship for a long time. They produce some absolutely amazing stuff.
You don't want to get hurt? Where's your sense of adventure?
Sounds like Laz. You got Laz here still, you know? Dude, look at that.
Hold on, really?
What if it's the coil?
Literally a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Can you try to bench press up? There you go.
Okay.
Dropped in. Okay, she's in.
Dude, that, you know, it's almost as if that oil pan was designed specifically for this car.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now you have a 530Z.
It's looking great, man. That's.
I don't want to run into you after you can't see where you're at.
This has been pretty awesome. Actually, let's check out some of your parts and stuff. All organized, much better than me.
I have to be, man. Don't have a ton of space. You got to optimize it the best you can. What do you say? Adapt and overcome? 240 parts, 300ZX parts, 350Z, 370Z. Same thing on the wall. They're broken up in sections of parts for which cars. You know, oil filter relocation kits, returnless fuel system conversions, cold air intakes, air conditioning brackets, all for 300ZXs, and then similar parts here for 350Zs.
Dude, this really represents a lot of years of R&D. That's pretty awesome.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I
cool,
started LOJ, like my brainchild was that somebody could go to the website and essentially buy a kit that would have every single thing they need to do the motor swap. Like one-stop shopping, you click buy, and it might be expensive, but when all the boxes show up, you don't have to go anywhere else except for like Walmart to buy oil and coolant. So with the 350Z kit, I mean, it includes everything down to heater hoses, radiator hoses, everything.
I was trying to put a number on how many cars that I've done for you. It's got to be 40 to 50. I mean, it's got to be that or more.
Crazy. And in an SUV that big and all, it was wild.
What'd you go with that? It was like 1030s or something like that?
1090s.
1090s?
It weighed 4,800 pounds with me in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a heavy beast.
That
but,
is, yeah, that's pretty heavy.
It pulled like 160 short times.
Dude, that thing was fun. These are all of the parts, everything what is going to be going into our car.
So basically, what I would consider this to be would be like a drift missile kit. So it's all the parts you need to get the motor in the car, plus headers, a harness, an ECU, and stuff to get it up and running. But it doesn't include like air conditioning brackets or radiator and fans, because guys that are building drift cars, they're not putting AC in it. And a lot of guys relocate the radiator to the rear or whatever, so there's no reason to include that stuff either. It's all the parts for a 370Z. It's even our plug-and-play 370Z harness. You're getting the very first one. We've been able to develop now a 370 harness with full CAN bus integration, so
that's going to be
gauges
sick.
Work, push-button start works. If you're building a street car, air conditioning will work, cruise control will work, everything will work.
Those are pretty big items if you want to have OEM type drivability. I mean, I like that.
If you put a 6L80 in the car, 6L90, we can make the factory paddle shifters shift the 6L
awesome.
trans, like the whole deal. It's all integrated. People have been calling me for years asking for this stuff, and I'm like, it takes time to develop stuff that actually works right. It's finally ready. All of the stuff that I sell is made in the US. So like a lot of other companies right now with all the crap going on in the world are having a hard time keeping parts in stock. I'm not, other than my suppliers that are in the US trying to keep up with my demand. But at the worst, I'm like a week or two out on parts right now, and most everything else is in stock. Like motor mounts, oil pans, all that kind of stuff is here ready to ship. So
we got a 10% overdrive because we're looking to do some force induction a little bit later. That looks like a drive shaft.
Yep, aluminum drive shaft, headers, oil pan, transmission adapter and flywheel, twin disc clutch, motor mounts, transmission mount, a 350Z accessory drive kit that allows you to run an LSA blower, and you were saying in the future you might want to do that. So I'm going to put a 350Z power steering pump. We already fitted the 8-rib power steering pump pulley to it, a 350Z alternator. With our LSA accessory drive, we basically fit 8-rib pulleys to all the factory Nissan stuff, and then it all runs on one belt. Whereas our standard accessory drive is 6-rib, because that's what a normal LS is and normal 350Z stuff is.
Definitely like the foresight of that. That's going to be really, really awesome, man. Well, we'll dive into the parts a little bit later, but let's take a look at this guy real fast here. This looks really nice.
Oh, your transmission mount?
Oh, yeah.
Built aluminum transmission mount for the 350Z or 370Z. Motor mounts are bent and welded steel with built aluminum pedestals, and the bushings are captured here. This 8-rib pulley for the power steering pump and the 8-rib pulley for the alternator are actually larger than stock as well, so even though you're overdriving the crank pulley, you're not overdriving the power steering pump and alternator too, which especially on a drift car, you don't want to overspin the power steering pump. You'll kill it and overheat the fluid with all the lock to lock action. Shifter bracket for the transmission, so shifter relocation. So the factory CD transmissions and the JK transmissions that come in the 370Zs, the shifter hangs way off the back of the trans. And even though we're swapping into a Nissan car, keeping the Nissan trans, in those cars, in a 350Z, I push the engine and trans back 4 inches. In a 370, 4.5 inches. And that's all for the sake of having an LS motor's longer than the V6. So to keep room in front of the motor for your radiator fans, and for weight distribution. We've actually scaled a car before and after the swap, and it was a G35 coupe, and it was a manual trans to manual trans swap, and all of the accessories, so it was like a street car, our full ultimate swap kit package. It lost 5 pounds overall weight with the LS in it compared to the stock motor.
Heck yeah.
And the weight distribution improved 2%.
Oh, can't even beat that.
So it's better on
a
all
win-win.
fronts. Yeah.
And more power by a lot.
So with that said, if you put that was an aluminum block motor. If you put an iron motor in, you'd gain 70 pounds over the front axle and maybe hurt the weight distribution 1%, maybe. In swap before, I just designed the part. LOJ, you know. Ever tell you my first customer thought LOJ stood for Lost Our Jobs?
Make sure you hit the spark plugs.
I'm trying.
All right, dude, she's coming together real fast. We got a header on, and tell me everything else that we got going here.
Got the trans mount bolted in, supporting the trans in the back. We have the shortened shifter bracket in place. Because this car was an automatic car originally, we did have to notch the hole in the floor, but on a manual trans car, you don't have to do that. Basically, we started putting the oil filter relocation kit in place. The pan itself has 10 AN fittings on it, and we've run some 10 AN hose, and we'll mount the filter up front.
Everything in this kit is, you had mentioned, hey, yes, it's a little pricey, but dude, the quality of every single part and component that I've seen, top notch.
And that's what I strive for. Like, I won't sacrifice quality at all.
Looks great, dude. Cook's headers.
Yep.
Custom headers that you had designed. Fantastic looking, man, really.
Lifetime warranty on those headers, too. So
that's nice, dude.
We have the scavenging spikes in the back, too, the whole deal. So for, maximum performance out of the header. Driver side headers in. The reason we don't have the passenger side header in yet is because we needed to plug in the crank angle sensor while we're doing the harness and get the starter in here. Once we have the harness squared away and the starter in place, we'll stick that header up in there, but it's easier to work without the header in place.
It's like you've done this a time or two.
Yeah, once or twice. Once we get the harness squared away and the header in, we'll bring it back down and we'll start hanging the accessories on the front of the motor. And the harness will be pretty much done, put a battery in it, and we should be able to fire it up.
Hell yeah. Blazing speed here. I don't even think it's been like a full 5 hours, to be honest, because we took a break for lunch and yeah.
A break to do other stuff.
And yeah, he had to go pick up the other guy that got stranded at the gas station. So
yeah. So
I think we're honestly at like 4 hours. I mean, this is really good pace. Right here we can see our speed sensor welded to the drive shaft right there. Man, that oil pan fits in there so nice and snug. Well, my son is putting in some good hard work, learning and earning. Got to commend him, he was very diligent through this whole process. Took to it like a fish in water. These guys were kind of messing around with a headlight. They didn't have a real mark to be able to mount it with. They put in a good amount of time. And ironically, it kind of ended up looking like the Terminator with like a busted eye over on the other side, just disfigured and deformed on the other side. Guy started to tackle everything inside, and it had been sitting for about 3 years and had a whole bunch of mold and stuff in it. And again, gotta hand it to my son. He did a great job cleaning it up. Very satisfying to see it go from really nasty to really darn nice and clean. Meanwhile, across town, Steven and I are knocking out a couple cars that he had set up for me to tune. This is part of the trade of what we had done. This is a really nice 350Z with a 6.2 liter setup in it. It's a very decent power and the car rips. Well, back at the shop, setting up the accessory drive, doing some wiring. Just tying up all the loose ends of everything that's on the front side of the motor right there. Cleaning up some where the harness goes through around the firewall. And there's about 3 years worth of leaves and stuff that needs to be vacuumed out. Hope you guys are digging this time-lapse music. Decided to add a few new songs to my repertoire. Major thanks to Adrian Bailey. All right, well, we're making some awesome progress on this thing. We were up until about 1 in the morning knocking out some tuning stuff and almost got stranded on the side of the road. Had some crazy situations. All right, so guys, this is Jay right here. He's kind of like the Laz of the shop here. It's like Laz in another body. It makes me feel at home and warm and comfortable here. So actually, just give us a little rundown of some of the stuff that we have left. I mean, I see we got our fuel line on. We got most of our harness in. I just saw you put the header on. What else we got?
We gotta do O2 sensors, grounds, wire up the trans.
I saw PSI had like an awesome ground set that they sent. That was really, really cool, man.
They sent these.
Gotcha. So you can never have too many grounds. Okay, I mean, that looks awesome.
Dipstick, fluids,
Drive shaft.
just wire up the sensor, install the oil pressure sensor adapter.
Oh, and that's so that we can make the factory gauges work, is that right?
Yeah, factory gauges and still run the GM sensor too.
I feel really, really privileged here in order to be able to get the first CAN bus setup that Steven's done for 370Z. We're going to be able to have all the factory gauges work, which is completely awesome. I want to run you guys through some of the CAN stuff because that is super nerdy stuff, but that is like tuning on a whole nother level. I think that that's going to be another industry coming up very, very shortly, trying to be able to get and integrate all the CAN stuff going.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy that y'all are able to do that, man. That's honestly whole nother level stuff because it's making it exactly just like OEM at that point. Cruise control, so on and so forth. I mean, all that's wild, man. All right, so not normally on the swaps. This has basically been modified here for a Gen 5 engine in case we ever decide to go a Gen 5 engine in this chassis. But
when we originally did the swap kit for this car, we designed it for Gen 4 first, Gen 3, Gen 4, and set the motor placement and all based on that. Then when I decided to do Gen 5 kits, we wanted to leave the transmission in the same spot and all as it was with the Gen 4. Turns out the Gen 5s have those valve covers that are way taller. They kind of surround the coil packs. So in the back, it became an issue. So if you're going to run the Gen 5, you're going to have to cut the firewall just to clear that.
with LOJ's accessory drive system, they utilize a lot of the factory components and adapt them to LS style, which does save on overall cost in the end. And what's even better is that we have an 8-rib system. We are set up for boost when we want to put the blower on. Now, as Steven said, LOJ stuff is not cheap. However, he does not compromise whatsoever with quality. No one can argue with that. As Jay's finishing everything up, tensioner, power steering, alternator, shaping up super nicely. Now, this car was an automatic, so I had to get a clutch pedal in a jiffy. It's kind of hard. A lot of the stuff that you would think would be there in order to put it right in was not. Jay had a lot of work cut out for him, but managed to get everything in there. It worked very well. All right, we're just minutes away from getting this thing totally fired up, and this has really been quite a very interesting experience, watching everything go together. There has been a tremendous amount of engineering that you put behind all this stuff. All right, so with our accessory drive system right here, if we decide to go ahead and put on an LSA or LS9 supercharger, which I just so happen to have one, it's not that easy of a swap, but might happen. We really just need to swap one pulley on this. Everything else is pretty much ready to go. We got to add a fuel system, cooling system. That we're not tackling that today. Everything is fitting in there exactly the way it's supposed to. I mean, it's supposed to be just like OEM.
Yeah, exactly. By demand of a lot of customers, I developed a second LSA accessory drive setup. And the only difference is we include pulleys to upgrade from 6-rib to 8-rib on the power steering pump and the alternator. If you switch this ribbed pulley to a smooth pulley, you can route the belt under, then up over the blower pulley and back down around the water pump. And you get like 80% wrap around the blower pulley, and it's an 8-rib setup instead of 6-rib. So it's really the most drive that you can have when running off the blower off of the factory accessory belt instead of its own dedicated belt.
It's well engineered. Let's just leave it at that. It's honestly a shame that the motor that I brought you is so ugly. It's mainly just the coil packs. It's like the ugliest thing about the whole car. I didn't see that coming.
Okay. Well, we kind of spontaneously decided to even put a motor in it while you were up here, so
it
it
did
was
kind
a little bit of a last minute call. I was like, what engine can I find to bring with me?
It kind of did happen that way. I'm saying go for it. If you want to just rotate it over,
I want to rotate it over. Call me Mr. Conservative.
proceed. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. It's going to be sweet. Can we start now, Dad? How about now?
Yes.
It's kind of good if you're a meth head, maybe. No? I actually like it too, so. All right, so quick question. Do you or do you not like the smell of brake clean, and does it or does not kill COVID? Proceed. Fired up, dude.
Fired up?
Yeah.
Fire me up.
Go! Go, baby.
No!
We got a couple cylinders. This thing's gonna be rowdy.
Torque itself off the.
That is rowdy. Yeah, that's nasty. That sounds freaking awesome. This is basically the fire up tune from PSI, and it did the job. No problem whatsoever. We have so many different things than what they even knew. I'm kind of surprised that it did as good as it did.
It's actually a stock just 6.2 Camaro tune.
Yeah. Well, we got to fight through with the cam and 42-pound injectors, so you know.
It's
Fine. It's fine. I'm gonna write a file for this. We're gonna load in something very similar to our our engine test stand tune. We'll get this thing fired up and running pretty good in just no time. Good job. Hey, you did exactly what you said you were gonna do. Well done, sir, and you too. Good job, kid.
Thanks,
Day and a
Dad.
half.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
And we still dynoed 3 cars, and we got to do another car.
It was just me and Jay.
So it's
for a
been
while.
yeah. So honestly, I think my son has a bunch of time tied up in working on this thing. So I'm actually very proud of him and all the work that he's done. I'm sure you learned a lot.
Dude, he vacuums carpet like a champ.
Ooh.
In other words, he sucks.
All right. Well,
Look at that face.
like tape
That
face
hit
or
me like
something.
right here.
Just loaded up this tune that we had from the engine test stand, kind of blended the two together. That was a 14 ppv, and this is 11 Camaro. Here we go. Well done. All right, we're going to bring this thing back to Florida. I cannot wait to get ripping on this thing. This has been an absolutely awesome trip. Again, huge thanks to Steven from LOJ, Jay as well. Man, these guys seriously bent over backwards and helped us out so very much. This has been an awesome trip. If you guys are interested in any sort of swap or anything like that that Steven may do, you've got all sorts of custom parts, anything from mixing and blending Nissans and LSs and all sorts of stuff, but he's got some super cool builds and really want to bring you guys a bunch more stuff. Gotta follow what he's doing with this truck though. So check out LOJ Conversions and also LOJ Kits. So check him out on Instagram. He's got a YouTube.
So you got to run in and drive in car now. So
I'm so mad he's got a superior beard to mine. Rarely do you run into someone that has a superior beard.
I started growing it. You know, the first time you said you were coming up.
that tells you how long. We've honestly had this planned for like almost a year, maybe. That's awesome. And this car is so sweet. Yeah,
Awesome.
I love it, man. Very cool. She's gonna be a ripper.
Get the hap. Bam.
That's good. Well, guys, I want to say thank you so much for hanging out and watching this video. I poured a ton of love in there. A lot of little extra detail and love into this. LOJ is most definitely your one-stop shop for the LS Nissan conversion and hybrid setup. Also, Steven just put out a video with an interview of he and I. You can check that out on his channel right there. Guys, in the end, a lot of stuff seems to work out if you treat somebody the way you want to be treated. That's definitely what has worked out with Steven and I am extremely thankful for him. Guys, song I'm going to leave you with here. I've been on like an Alice in Chains like kick here lately. Check My Brain, Alice in Chains. Hope you guys dig it. God bless you guys. We'll see you next video. All right, Jericho.